And no matter what I did, like nothing made a difference. The number one thing I'm looking for is support. I wish I could go back and tell Maylene of last year that things are going to get better. Hi sweet friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maylene Call from Mrs. Call's Campers. If you're new here, I am a kindergarten and first grade teacher in Northern California. This year I am a combo teacher. Today's video is going to be just a chatty kind of girl teacher talk with you guys. Not necessarily a girl talk, but I'm just gonna be kind of explaining things a little bit more and talking about feelings, I guess. So where do I start? My first year teaching, I taught in Tennessee. I loved my school. I had a big team. I wasn't like best friends with my team, but my team was really strong, and I learned so much that first year. I couldn't be more grateful for that first year that I had. I had a class full of sweethearts. I had 8 other teachers that I could depend on, rely on, who were there for me. I worked in a big district, so I learned a ton really quickly. I had a literacy coach, all these things that worked together to help me have a really successful first year teaching. So grateful. And then my husband joined the military. He was at basic my first year teaching, and we moved to Mississippi, and everything was kind of in a bad time for applying for applications, and then COVID was starting up too. So we moved from Mississippi to California after a few months, and when I got to California, I didn't find a teaching job. So I had taught for 1 year, and then I didn't have a teaching job, what was supposed to be my second year of teaching. And that was absolutely miserable because you spend so much time in college and you want to do something that you love, and you get there and it's amazing, and then you have to take a year off for something that's really out of your control, and it was really scary. And we were in full swing with COVID, and then I was applying for jobs for the new year, and there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. I applied to so many, didn't hear back from almost none of them, and then finally I heard back from one school. And it's hard for me to come on and kind of retell this because I was very excited to have a job again. Very excited. Teaching is what I love to do, clearly. I was very excited to have a job again and just grateful for that opportunity. But I knew from the second that I even walked in the door to that school, which it was a charter school, which plays a role partly in my experience, but I knew from the second I walked through that door, it was not the school for me. And if it wasn't for the fact that the school year was just about to start. I got hired last year, the first week of school, and I literally signed papers I think on the first day of school. But how can I describe it? They called me in for an interview. I went to the interview. My interview was an hour and a half long, and they asked me maybe 2 questions. The principal was the person who talked the whole time. I was pretty much just listening to him talk the whole time. And one of the questions that my assistant principal asked me, his big question that he had to ask me, was, what would you do at a flag ceremony? And I said, I don't know what a flag ceremony is. And then he tried to explain it to me, and I did not know how to answer that question. My principal who was interviewing me, it was the principal and the assistant principal for the first time. No, it was my principal, assistant principal, and a second grade teacher. And keep in mind, this school was I guess you call it a singleton school. So it was K through 12, 1 teacher per grade, which I also knew was not something I wanted. I really wanted a team. I had just come from a team of 9 people, so I did not really want that, and I would be teaching kindergarten for the first time. Anyways, the interview was very long. They didn't figure out anything about me. My principal was talking the whole time. I vividly remember him kind of poking fun at the fact that I wore a blazer to the interview. He was wearing jeans, which of course, how would I know? And then I remember they poked fun at my portfolio, my teaching portfolio too, and I just didn't feel good about any of it. I was so uncomfortable the whole time. I was trying so hard to just impress them because I really needed a job, even if it was at a school that I knew wasn't right for me. I felt like it was better to have that year of experience and teach versus having 2 years of inexperience and trying to find a job. So finally, the very painful interview ended. I went home. I remember I called my friends crying because I still have like our messages saved. I called my friends crying because I didn't feel like I had any options, and I was excited to interview, but it was also school was starting, and I was like, I'm really scared that they're going to offer me the job because I don't think I can say no to this, and I didn't. And I was excited to get the job. It was just a very conflicting feeling knowing that I was accepting a job for just something that I knew in my heart didn't feel right. Luckily, I had Kenzie last year at that school. I don't know how she made it 3 years at that school. I really don't, because that was her first school too. And I don't think I would have made it through last year if I didn't have her as the one person that I could like depend on. There were a couple of other people at school who were nice to me and who like I could talk to, but it was also the kind of vibe where things were so small and tight and close knit and people were related that I'm like, I don't know who I could really talk to or who I could really trust. And from the very start, of course, I'm so excited to be back in a school, and I'm coming from a school in Tennessee where my coworkers were pretty nice to me, and that wasn't the case here. From the second that I walked through that door, people just didn't like me. A lot of the people there were older, and of course I'm younger and I look younger and I act younger. I have a very youthful personality, like a bubbly personality. I try to, and people just didn't like me. And no matter what I did, like nothing made a difference. And I remember walking into my classroom for the first time, being so excited to have a classroom again. I remember walking in and my heart absolutely sinking, seeing that it was full of like years and years and years of stuff from the previous teacher who was still there at the time. And she even said like, you can trash what you want, you can donate what you want. And I was like, okay. And then I'm looking at it like, this is going to be so much work. Luckily we were virtual, so I had time to do it. And the aide that was going to be my aide last year was the sister of the teacher who was leaving. So it made things very, very just uncomfortable because the sister was just as attached to everything in the classroom. And then so I was the bad guy for wanting to get rid of stuff when I had a storage unit full of my classroom that I wanted to get in because it was my classroom. So the teacher who was leaving said that she didn't care, but the aide that was staying, it was almost like I was offending her to get rid of things that were in the classroom. And a lot of it had been like, I think donated from like an old preschool that maybe their other sister worked at. I don't really know. It was complicated and it caused a lot of tension and I hated it. And I tried everything I could to like make her feel welcome and whatever. And I was like, hey, like I would love to give you like a space over here. Nothing I did was good enough for her. And it was hard and there was so much tension. And I just remember thinking like, I've never had a full-time like aide in my classroom and I really wanted it to work and she just didn't like me. So that was really difficult. And then I never said anything because every day I tried to go in and, just be nice. I never said anything. My principal actually called me into his office and asked me how things were going. And I was like, well, it's been kind of hard. I feel like she expects me to do things a certain way because that's what so-and-so did. And he said, yeah, I kind of expected that would be the case. I'm going to move her. And I was like, I don't know how you even like heard about this. I don't know what happened because I'm not the kind of person who's gonna like run and complain to people. So she got moved to a different teacher and then I was by myself, which was fine. So anyways, there were a lot of things that happened that year that just totally destroyed my spirit. I didn't feel like administration really cared about the teachers, the way that they talked. It just seemed like the kids didn't matter. I remember, during Black History Month, one of our students had said like, oh, like we're not doing anything for Black History Month. And it was kind of like written off. Like it just didn't seem like they really cared. And I know that I joined that school in an off year and I know it was COVID. There wasn't any I just didn't feel like there was any effort put into it. Today, for example, at my school, last day before Christmas break, my principal came. We had this big breakfast. He made us waffles. It was so nice just to feel like the littlest amount of appreciation. And even coming to the school I'm at now, just having people, even when I was moving in, having people come to my room and introduce themselves and be nice to me and just say like, I'm so glad to have you here. Dang it, I'm crying. Even having people say like, I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited you're on our team. It's going to be a great year. Having people like offer to help me do things. Having people just be supportive from day one was everything to me. It was absolutely everything to me. And in my interview for this school, I told my principal, it was my principal and a second grade teacher in the interview, which is funny because that's what it was at the other school. I told him like the number one thing I'm looking for is support. I need someone that's going to be there to support me. And I have felt so supported. So supported. Anyways, I'm kind of talking in circles, but it's just night and day, even from my first experiences in the actual school. The one thing that was nice about my last school, the school that I did not like, it was a K-12 school, so one teacher per grade, which meant you didn't have a team to work with and you were totally on your own, which can be good or bad depending on your situation. My school didn't really have any like professional development opportunities. They didn't have any kind of guidance, and to be quite honest, I don't think they cared at all what we did. And that was one thing that my principal said. He was like, you know, I trust that like you're a good educator and do this, and he kind of made it sound like, oh, I'm trusting you to like do your job, but it also came off like he just didn't care, because they didn't like check in on you. They did, I think, well, actually that's a lie. He did check in a couple of times. He did. That's a lie. But because it was a K-12 school, and also my principal taught high school, I didn't feel like they really understood more of the primary side to it either. And I remember him telling me one time, like, he didn't understand why kids had to learn multiplication. Like, why couldn't they just memorize it? Why do they need to know that it's 5 plus 5 plus 5 and not 5 times 3? Like, those little things stood out to me and just made me question, like, the kind of administrator I was working for, because I really would prefer someone who kind of knew more about the teaching side. And the school I'm at now is definitely not a K-12 school. It's much, much, much smaller. It is a primary school. So I really enjoyed that about this school too. It was like everything from last year that I didn't like totally flipped this year. Another thing that was just really hard for me last year is there was lots of people who, again, no matter how hard I tried every day, it was a battle. And I walked in feeling like people hated me, didn't know what was wrong, didn't know what I could do. I think I had written down, maybe in my notes somewhere, some of the things that happened. Maybe, I don't know. Now I don't even know when it would be from. Okay, I did find something on my phone. I'm going to read it to you in just a second. It was really hard to just navigate that school. And it was also like there was so much on us too. Like, we didn't have planning time really. We had like a meeting almost every single day after school. We had a staff meeting every Monday, which was terrible. We had a team meeting. So for me, it was K1 and 2 and 3 and 4, which was another problem. It was like K1, 2, 3, and 4 is very different and spread out. And so I didn't like that. We were one big team because you couldn't really accomplish much and nothing anybody talked about was helpful. And then we had PLCs on Friday. And the PLCs were just, guys, it was hard. Like, the PLCs that we had to do, because we were a K-12 school, I was in a PLC with like the music teacher. Like, it was just, it felt like another thing on top of a hard year. You know what I mean? I did PLCs at my first school and I loved them because I was working with 8 other first grade teachers and we could actually make assessments and then assess our data and then create new assessments. Like, it was actually run the way it was supposed to. And doing it at my school last year, it was just like, nothing feels right. Everything is wrong. And I remember anytime that I said something, my team, except for Kenzie, would either completely ignore me or just like brush it off. Like I had suggested, we teach some social studies through our literacy blocks, and I showed them like on the Tennessee website, the units that were on there, and they just didn't say anything. And I was like, great, like this doesn't feel good at all. I remember going into a meeting one time and one of the teachers was sitting at a group of tables like over here, and I sat at another desk at that group of tables. She literally got up and walked away, and I'm just like, this is so rude. And I tried every time that I was with them to just be nice, to joke around, to like try to be cordial and like get them to say things to me, and it was terrible. I remember I walked in one day to a meeting trying to be like light and, you know, just normal. And I had said something about like the kids getting here in the morning before the teachers, which was another thing that happened. And I hated it because I didn't want to be responsible in case someone got hurt. But the kids would literally, they would open the gates before the teachers were supposed to be there in the morning. And I was like, that's crazy. And I said it just like that. I was like, that's crazy that they get here before us. And then my assistant principal comes into our grade level meeting, and one of the teachers totally throws me under the bus, and he was like, yeah, so Maylene wanted to talk to you about our contract hours. And I said, no, that's not what I said. And it was just terrible. And so I remember going to my assistant principal after that, and I was like, that was really uncomfortable. Like, this is really hard for me. I'm doing everything I can. It feels like no matter what I do, they don't like me. I feel like it's very unprofessional. I don't feel like this is a safe space. And I said, I'm trying to kill them with kindness. And he said, don't even bother. That was his advice. Don't even bother. If they don't like you, they're not going to like you. And I don't know how people like that run schools. I don't get it. I don't know. And I was absolutely miserable last year. And then I did kindergarten graduation. After they gave me a letter in May saying that I wasn't going to come back. And keep in mind, I had been debating like, oh, should I look for new schools? And I had like applied to a couple of schools, but I didn't turn in my resignation. And then fast forward May, I get a letter saying I'm not rehired for the next year. Out of nowhere, didn't have any conversation with me prior, never like approached me and said, hey, like this isn't working, or we're having a problem with this, or whatever. Nothing. I just got a letter in my mailbox. They couldn't even tell me. And I was like, I think it's just hard to wrap my brain around. Like it was so unprofessional, and it made me just feel used. And I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful I got that letter, because there were still no positions popping up. And so I was thinking I would have to like suffer through another year. And I was like, maybe Kenzie will be here. I'm so glad that I got that letter, even though it was like the worst way it could have happened. Anyways, fast forward. I still do kindergarten graduation because those are my kinder babies, and I was excited. My principal and assistant principal did not say a word, not a single word to me on kindergarten graduation. Not a single word. Not even a like, thank you for doing this, or you did a great job. Nothing. So that was my experience last year in a nutshell. I hope that answers some of your questions. I will read you the note that I wrote. I don't know if it'll be everything I just said, but this is what I wrote after kindergarten graduation. I knew I wanted to film this video, and I just sat here crying, like pouring out my thoughts. There were people, gosh, I feel like I'm gonna cry just reading it. I'm in a good place now. It's almost like PTSD from my last school. That's what I felt like being here when people would say nice things to me, and I wouldn't know what to say back. There were people at my school who did not like me from the moment I stepped through that door. There were people who knew nothing about me besides the fact that I was a young, excited teacher who wanted to make my classroom my home and to transition into my position in the most graceful, peaceful way I possibly could. You will never be enough for some people. Some people will never like you no matter how hard you try, and I tried to be everyone's friend. Every single day I pretended like the way they talked to me didn't affect me. I pretended that the way they treated me didn't affect me. I acted like every day was a new day because I was just waiting for the moment where they realized they should know better, but that didn't happen. And the same people who are supposed to be teaching our kids how to be good people turn around and treat their coworkers like they're high school bullies. So many teachers experience this. I'm not alone when I say that I had teammates who would straight up ignore me in a conversation, who refused to work with me, who would get up and move if I sat next to them, who would throw me under the bus in front of admin, who would walk past me every day and say nothing, which is the saddest person to be. And I did absolutely nothing to these people. I didn't know them, and before I even got the chance to know them, their mind was made up about me, and there was nothing I could do to change that. I became best friends with one of my coworkers because she was right next door to me. She was there for me, and no one else was, and she's amazing. I think that my friendship with her made things worse for people who didn't like me. That was another thing, and that stinks because I'm the kind of person who wants to be everyone's friend. I actually forgot about that. Kenzie, I mean, obviously she wasn't like BFFs with them, but she was friends with them. And I think there was also some jealousy with me coming into that position and us being closer. We're very close in age. We were right next door. I think that definitely played a part in some of it. And then I talk about where my admin said, don't even bother. Nothing is forever. You can leave anytime you want. I struggled all year long with what I should do. I came to the decision that staying would be easier on me than leaving because I would already be prepared for kindergarten, so staying in the same grade. And even if you go back and watch my vlogs, I talk about doing a scope and sequence for kindergarten because I genuinely wanted some stability in my life. I felt like teaching the same grade 2 years in a row would give me a sense of relief and take some stress away. I was scared to go through another interview process and search for schools. And I also recognized that this year was especially hard on everyone because of the pandemic, and I wanted to give my school a fair shot. And then I got the letter and I just said, well, that makes it easier on me. I said, what I'm hoping for in my next school is a school full of teachers and admin who recognize that they are a huge factor in the happiness of their teachers, people who have been in schools like mine and felt the way I felt and want to be people who put in the work and love to make sure their staff feels safe and valued and supported. So I forgot about that last part. Yeah. And the funny thing about this job, I'm a kindergarten and first grade teacher. I've applied to so many schools this summer. I remember getting the call and they said, we might have a potential opening. We don't know what school, but it'll be a combo class. And I remember thinking when I hung up, yeah, that's not going to happen. And I got the call back and I was like, I'll just go and see. And it genuinely felt really good. And I got the call back on the drive home and I said, yeah, I'm going to go for it. Like, this seems like it could be good. And I wish I could go back and tell Maylene of last year that things are going to get better. In my school right now, the school I'm at is not the perfect school. There, of course, are things that happen. There's issues that come up. It's not a perfect school, but I am so happy here. I feel like I just have people that I can depend on, people I can go to, people who aren't going to make fun of me for being on YouTube or on Instagram or now I'm on TikTok, people who aren't going to judge me and if they do judge me, they're not going to say it to my face or make me feel a certain type of way. Maybe they may be judging internally, but people who are just good people who want to help me, people who genuinely care about me and my life and what's happening and just can appreciate the fact that I'm a person and want to get to know, like, it's so nice. And even my principal, I told him at the very beginning of the year, like, I want him to like come into my classroom and like make his presence known with the kids. And I really want my class to get to know him. And he's done that. And everything that I've needed from him, I've gotten. I had, a little bit of a struggle at the beginning of the year because I was a combo class and there were parents who were like, oh, I'm not really sure about this. And he helped me through all of that. And I couldn't be more grateful. And I've even had support from people like the superintendent and people on the board. Like, those things this year, it was so needed. And I remember the night before school, the night before Meet the Teacher, I was in my classroom until like 11 o'clock at night and the alarm went off. And of course, like, people had to come. One of those people was a board member. And then we had a board meeting like a couple days later, and somebody, like a parent or somebody, had like found my YouTube and like put this random comment in that I had a YouTube channel. And somebody said, yeah, she's great. She's in here now. And then one of the board members was like, let me tell you, she was in her room last night till 11 p.m. getting things ready for her class and like just said nice things. And like, she called me afterwards and checked on me. And like, those things, I think it's hard for me right now talking about, like, yes, that's nice, but talking about it right now, like going from like the misery that was last year into this year where I feel happy and comfortable and I feel like I can do my job and I feel like I can come to school and not stress. Like, it has been so nice. It's been so nice. I'm going to transition into the Q&A portion. I have some questions that you guys wanted to know about my school last year since I didn't really open up. I'm betting you I probably answered all of them, but I'll check my screenshots just in case. Do you feel like you get the support at your current school? Yes. A lot of you wanted to know about my aide from last year being related to the teacher. It was just hard. I think we were doomed from the get-go. Do you work closely with your coworkers, plan together, share ideas, etc.? At this school, I don't work closely with them, but I talk to them every day about things. And like, I eat lunch with the first grade team and I talk to a lot of the kindergarten teachers. So we have like a scope and sequence that we follow. So there's not too much that we need to like work together and plan super closely like at my first school. But at my first school, we were also creating a lot of like IRAs and units and things like that. So it required more teamwork. I don't know. I do kind of miss like sitting and planning with people every week, but at the same time I don't, because I can manage my time how I want. But they're always there for me if I need them. And there are certain things that we do, work together on. So yes and no. Are you planning to stay in California? John is in the military, so I don't have any control over this whatsoever, which has been another thing that's been really, really hard for me because I like this school. Like, I don't want to go somewhere. And I also, to be totally, since this video is just totally, completely raw and honest, my position is here right now because enrollment was high, and I'm nervous for next year because I don't know what enrollment is going to look like. We're still in a pandemic, and I don't know if parents are going to pull their kids out of school. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they'll even need me next year. So, I mean, there's always that too. There's just, I feel like I don't know peace when it comes to my job. Like, I don't know peace. So I'm trying, when you see my vlogs, I'm trying really hard to enjoy. Gosh, dang it. Again, I am a sap, but also my kids just left today to be gone for like 2 weeks. So that could play a part in it too. I'm trying to enjoy every second with my kids, you know? So am I planning to stay in California? This is not our forever home. I don't know what's going to happen with John's job. I'm just along for the ride. And like I said, I'm grateful for the experience I had last year. My first year teaching, amazing. This year, it's been wonderful. Every year, I learn so much and I get so much. And I feel like I can't say, oh, I just wish it was a little bit easier on me, because I'm just grateful to have a job, period. And the fact that I even have to like worry about having a job when so many teachers are quitting right now, it shouldn't be a thing, but it is, because teaching is what I'm passionate about. It's what I want to do. And I just wish things could be easy for me, but they're not. Is the support received from admin different? Yeah, because it exists. Advice for what questions to ask or what to look for as a first year teacher for a good school. Definitely ask how they collaborate. Ask just about the kind of support they give their teachers, ways that they build community. Those things are really, really important to me. Ask what they're expecting for you curriculum wise, class sizes. There's so many things. I actually have in my link, I have a bunch of interview questions. So if you click in the description box, there's a link that says all my links. And under free resources for you, there's some interview questions, and a lot of those are really good ones. What questions did you ask at interviews this year to avoid a school situation that would be similar to last year's? It was the support, 100%. I asked about the support. I asked how they collaborated. I asked how they encouraged community, and I was honest about my experience last year. I let them know where I was coming from. So school culture is a big one to ask about. This is a funny one. Any experience with teachers that turn everything into a competition? This is also what it felt like at my last school. Like, no matter what was done, it was always like someone was doing something else to try to one-up you. And when it's not a competition, it was not fun. So I do, and my advice for that is, doesn't matter. It does not matter, because your kids are going to appreciate anything that you do for them. It does not matter. What's your favorite part about your new school? My favorite part, I think it's, as simple as having a staff of coworkers who is just nice. Like, I've had one interaction here where it's been like, this is uncomfortable, but everyone has been just amazing. So I think it's just, in general, the way people treat me. 100%. What's been the biggest impact on your happiness at your new school? I think the fact, I feel like I can talk to my principal, and he would do a lot of checking in on me at the beginning of the year. I feel like I can talk to him. I feel like he listens to me. I feel like he is doing what he can when I need him to, and it's really made a difference. Sorry if the angle is different. My battery died. I was answering what's been the biggest impact on your happiness at your new school. And I think it's the fact that I can talk to my principal. And I feel like when I go to my principal, he hears me. I feel like he's on my side. I feel like when I need his support, he gives me his support. I literally called him the other morning in the parking lot with like a million things, and I was like, can you help me carry these things inside? Like, I feel like I can ask for what I need. I can say how I feel. Like, I think communication is what it is. It's the communication. So I think that's made a really big difference on my happiness this year. What is better, a good team or a good principal? If you could only have one, a good principal, because they will have your back. If they're a good principal, they will have your back if your team is totally garbage. Which is what my principal or my assistant principal should have done last year when I came to him and said I was struggling. He should have gone to those people and said, this is unprofessional. But he did not do that. Instead, he told me to suck it up. Were you worried about things not being better or worse at a new school? I'm scared of that. Yeah, I was scared of that too. I was scared of walking out of one fire directly into another one. But I also, at this school, I asked at the end of my interview, I was like, can I have a tour? And a couple of teachers were here, and just the way that their like faces lit up. One of my coworkers, I told her, I was like, from the second I saw you, like I knew like it was going to be good working with you. But little things like that, they've impacted me. I think I've answered all of the questions. Whew, I'm kind of like shaking. Now it is hard to be a teacher online. It is. There are so many things that happen in schools that schools don't want to necessarily broadcast to the internet. There are so many people who see teachers as a teacher, not a human, a teacher. Full-time, 24/7. They need to act like they're in front of 5-year-olds all day long. Can't go and get I love margaritas. I love my everything. Like, I am a person, I'm 27 years old, and I have a life. Well, that's a life. I'm just kidding. I don't have a life. But some teachers do. And I think it's just ridiculous the amount of pressure that people put on teachers. But it makes it hard to come on here because you don't want to come on as a teacher and like, sit here and complain, which I think you guys can tell I never try to do. And even this video now, I waited like has it been like 6 months since leaving my last school before I'm opening up about these things. But to me, it is so important to share these things because when I was going through it, I had a couple of people that I could be really, really honest with and tell them what's going on. And I could get some support from those people. But there are teachers out there who don't even have that. There are teachers out there who are just stuck and they feel like maybe they're the only person in this situation. And I never want you guys to feel like that. And I think the fact that I have a platform and people who watch my videos, like I just hope somebody out there can see it and know that there is a bright side to this. I remember I said a few months ago, like I feel guilty sharing some of these things, having experienced what I did last year, because I know some teachers are still in that. They're miserable. They have all these requirements. Everything is just falling apart right in front of them. And I didn't want my happiness to be like hard for them to watch. And I had someone message me. I actually think a couple people messaged me and they said, no, like please keep posting the good experiences at your new school, this school, because it gives me hope that like something better out there is for me. And I've had so many this makes me happy. I've had so many teachers, because of me sharing like what I went through last year, have courage to like go and seek out new opportunities and be in better schools. And I get updates from you guys all the time. And I love that. So everything that I went through last year definitely made me stronger. It did. They always say it, but it sucked. And is it the worst experience that could have happened? No, but it was my life every single day, and it made me appreciate this job that I'm in now so much more. I feel like I'm rambling, but it is hard to be a teacher on social media because just of the way that people perceive you. But at the end of the day, I want you guys to remember I'm a person. I'm more than just a teacher, and I share things with you not to complain, I'm not someone who like stirs up drama. That's not me. I'm just sharing my experience. That's what this whole channel has been about from day one. I just wanted to document things. I go back and watch them. I go back and reflect, and I know it makes a difference to a lot of you guys. So that being said, today was the last day before Christmas break. I am going to peace out of here. I have a hair appointment in 2.5 hours and I'm flying to Tennessee, which by the time you watch this, I will be in Tennessee. I appreciate you guys watching so much. Make sure you follow me over on TikTok. I've got lots of really fun content that I've been pushing out, and I have more that I'm posting. So follow me over there. Let's have some fun. I love you guys so much. If you need me, I'm a comment away. I'm a DM away. I truly want to be there for you. If you have nobody, I want to be there for you. I love the updates. I love the pictures. I don't love some of the questions that I've answered 100 times in my videos, but I do love talking to you guys. So thank you guys so much for being here. Like this video. If it was helpful, leave me a comment, subscribe, join our family. I'll see you in the next one.